Hi guys, good morning. We are here today, me, Rafael. We have a super special guest, Michele. She's gonna join us today to share a little thoughts about the fitness industry out there. She teach the boot camps here at our gym a couple of times a week. And we are very pleased that Michele come and join us for the podcast today. I know her for many years before. She used to have her business very close to my gym. We did some partnerships with self-defense classes, and friendship grow out of there, and she ended up coming and working here at the same facilities with us. So how you feel today, Michele? How you want to introduce
good.
yourself a little bit and tell a little bit about you?
Sure. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited. Michele Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing group fitness for about 3-4 years now. Sort of a later in life transition, but I do all kinds of different classes, boot camp, HIIT classes, Tabata. I also do some personal training with postpartum clients, which I love. That's the best because they bring their babies, right? That's always nice. And of course, a lot of functional training, which is in line with what you guys do. So.
Functional training is a kind of training that you don't use any kind of weight or anything. Is that correct?
Right. It's about everyday movements.
Okay.
And in my classes, I really love working on mobility, flexibility, stability. These are things that start to go away if you don't work on them starting at age 30, right? I was doing some continuing education and it shocked me because I always thought that was when you got a little bit older, maybe in your 50s, but you actually start losing that flexibility and mobility starting at age 30 unless you start to work on it. So that really interested me, and I try to incorporate that in almost all my workouts.
That's beautiful.
That's cool.
You know, I heard about functional training a long time ago back in Brazil, and that was exactly when people start to understand that the weightlifting was something that could be adapted in a better way. That you could use actually just your body weight to do the workouts. And I remember it became very popular in Brazil, functional training. And when I moved to America, actually I tried to find functional training more because I always heard people, jiu-jitsu people doing functional training back in Brazil. And I was kind of struggle to find functional training until I went to LA Fitness. And I asked them, do you guys do functional training? Of course, they said yes, because they say yes probably for everything, right, to sell you the products. And I started to do functional training with this person there, with this with the personal there, and
the trainer, private trainer.
Yeah, with a private trainer. And I don't know if he misunderstood because I was a jiu-jitsu professor, and he thought in those days I was my mindset was more towards competition and stuff like that. So he put me in a very, very hard workout, and that's when I had my back injury. I remember till today that's when I first find out that I had this big muscle spasm and I could not move. And then the pain gone away, and I say, man, I have to go back. And then I went back that same intensity, and I got hurt one more time, and then I have to stop. And I was very frustrated that the functional training that's supposed to be a little bit more friendly was not really adapted for the kind of body that I had. Do you see that happen sometimes?
I do. What I find, going back to your point about being able to find functional training, I think that's pretty rare that you're going to find classes that are functional training specific.
Right.
So even in my classes, what I do is that I incorporate functional training principles into what I do, whether it's a boot camp or a HIIT class or circuit class, I put it in there, right? So, and then, and to that point, again, there's lots of different ways for fitness, right? There's so many different modalities, and it really depends on what your goal is.
Yeah.
Right? And so your trainer, maybe he just wasn't experienced in that aspect of training. Maybe he wasn't as familiar with the functional side of things. For me, I actually had done swing dancing for a number of years and still compete from time to time and teach workshops. And so for me, that functional part was very, very important to me because I needed to be able to move, right? For dance, It's not about how much can I lift. It's about how can I move, my flexibility, my mobility. And so I got lucky, and I found a group fitness instructor. While she was teaching her high intensity class, she put functional training in that class. And that's how I kind of found out about it.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
So now I feel like there's definitely more of an emphasis on functional training. For instance, CrossFit was quite popular. It's still pretty popular, but at its height, its motto was very much about functional fitness. I think sometimes people get a little overly excited about things, and so they maybe push their clients too fast, too soon, right?
And that's
too
why
heavy,
the
right?
injury,
and that's how they get injured because they haven't. If you go too heavy before you've gotten your form correct, you are going to get injured. Right. Right now, I've started to get into some heavier lifting, but I have a great coach who makes sure that I'm ready before I move on to the next set of weights. And perhaps that particular trainer didn't do that for you.
That's probably what's happened with me. Yeah, maybe he had a wrong image of me being this tough jiu-jitsu black belt, and he said you can handle anything, but I actually was not ready for that kind of training. And maybe even me, that I think I have a little bit of I think I was responsible a little bit for that too, because I thought I could handle it, and otherwise when I felt that intensity of training, I would complain to him and say, look, that's not exactly what I want, but at those days I kind of have this mindset that I can really do it. So I think
you kind of push through.
The combination of me with an unexperienced coach, me with the wrong mindset, I think we both caused that injury. What I'm very grateful for, because it put me in a different pattern of movement, and I learned something super important that's I use for these days.
Yeah, that guides you towards the path that you wanted to go. And I was gonna say, to give people a little bit about context about functional training, between most people do weight or classes or they just go to the gym and then they see whatever workout they can work on. What is the difference between functioning training and the regular, air quote here, regular training that people most of the times do?
Well, when people think of exercise or going to the gym, most people, not everyone, but most people, their number one goal is probably to lose weight. Right? And they think, oh, I'm going to go run on the treadmill for however long, and I'm going to lose this weight, right? Obviously, there's so many other things that come into play here, but normally when people think about exercise, they're thinking about losing weight. And so group classes traditionally have a connotation of cardio type classes, Zumba, that type of class, or even back in the day, and when I was young, jazzercise. You probably remember that. You might be too young. But jazzercise, my favorite program on TV, there was this 20-minute workout.
Okay,
Yeah, and my mom and I would record it, and we would do it together. In those 80s leotards and the big hair, is great. But that's what most people think of, right? So they're thinking cardio. Not that there isn't functional stuff in there, but it's mostly dancing around, jumping around, just to get moving,
focus,
right, to burn calories, which is great, right? Any kind of movement is going to be good. Now, the type of group classes you see, there's going to be more strength-based classes, HIIT, which is high-intensity interval training, boot camp, which incorporates those types of things, or circuit class. A circuit class is going to have several different types of equipment that you might go through. For instance, in my class, sometimes I'll have a circuit class of 8 stations, and every station they're working with a different piece of equipment. And those are a lot of fun because it keeps their interest. For me, it's a lot of fun because I get to be creative in designing the workout and what kinds of things I want them to work on.
Yeah, super cool. Absolutely.
Now, if you're doing a traditional personal training, you're probably going to go in 2-3 times a week, And one day you're going to be working on lower body. The next time you'll be working on upper body. Maybe you'll have a day where you just work on core. So it's all very isolated. But again, they all work on different things, right? Now, with functional training, you're not so much doing that kind of jumping around or lifting heavy things. You can incorporate those in there, as I do, because I enjoy that, but you don't have to. It's very much about movement and moving the body in ways that can help you sustain that mobility through your whole life. Right?
So important to keep moving and keep active in a way that's you minimize the risk of injuries and you make it fun.
Exactly.
It's so hard for people to stay consistent in any kind of workout. You know, we have that same thing here in jiu-jitsu. You know, life comes on the way, people have kids, family, and they never prioritize the movement in an exercise class like yours so much. You know, so I think that's very important to keep it fun and create this family environment where people not just come to the workout, but they also to relieve the stress and talk and a little joke and a little talk after the class about about some personal stuff. I feel a lot of that in the jiu-jitsu class. You know, that I even have like private clients that they come to the private class with me for 1 hour, but we end up training like for 15-20 minutes, and the rest of the class we talk about life and you know, share experiences. And I'd like to ask you, what's your view about an image of a coach? For example, in the fitness industry, there is all about image. You know, they try to sell all this equipment with this very fit person there, trying to show this kind of equipment like, if you buy this, you're gonna be like me. You know, what's your view on that? Because I came from a background that I was an obese child. And today when I tell people that I used to be nearly 300 pounds when I was a teenager, people are like, oh, really? Oh, you don't look like that anymore. You know, took me years for me naturally merge to a different image that I have now, you know. And what do you see about that on the fitness industry there, and what do you do with your clients coming and how they interpret that situation there?
So it's interesting. Just a couple weeks ago, in one of the fitness newsletters that I get, the topic of this article was, what should a fitness instructor look like?
Oh, wow.
And I was very interested in that because, you know, I've been told this to my face. Like, you don't look like an instructor. You don't look like you're in fitness. And I get that because I'm not the super buff.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not a magazine cover kind of look.
Right. And, you know, and the people who do look like that, that's great. They've worked very hard to get to where they are. But what people need to realize, as you say, you're looking at a picture. That picture was probably taken with the perfect lighting.
Exactly.
The perfect contour makeup.
Yes.
Standing a certain way, which from dance, I know how to stand to, you know, give me the right angles.
Right.
And, you know, maybe they, you know, didn't have anything to eat that morning, and all they've had is water to flush everything out, to prepare for that perfect
And then did a super strong workout, like 2 minutes before the picture
Absolutely,
comes.
get a little extra pump in there.
Yes.
And again, that's fine. But for my clients in particular, and I just saw this on a blog, which I loved. It was real, not perfect, right? And so I present sort of more of a real person image. I let them know my story, that I also used to be a lot heavier. I've always struggled with weight. I still struggle with weight, but I'm in this journey with them.
Right.
And so,
That really mirrors my story. That really mirrors what I did.
It was actually really hard for me to be that vulnerable and to be that honest with them. But in the end, I realized how powerful that was. And some of my favorite coaches are not that perfect, you know, that magazine cover person. One of my very first group fitness instructors at the gym that I was at, she was doing a Zumba class, you know, and I love to dance, so I was like, this is great. And I went in and I remember looking at her and just thinking, I don't know what this is going to be like. She was a little bit heavier. and she, again, didn't look like that typical fitness instructor. Come to find out that she had lost like 100 pounds.
Wow.
And then loved, through doing these dance cardio classes, and loved it so much, became an instructor. And so she had that passion, she had the motivation. I loved her class.
Because of the transformation that she went
Yes,
through.
because she went through it herself, so she understood.
So interesting.
And she was one of my very favorite instructors, even though she wasn't the quote stereotypical.
I love
look,
these stories.
right?
I love it. Yes.
Right.
She came through that. She came
Exactly.
through that. She can share for everybody the results that she got through her own pain and gains that she had in her own journey of that. So that's so cool.
Yes, I have one of my professors back ago. He always liked to show off that he was so fit. And I know that guy, he never worked out one day in his life just because he had that genetic.
Great genetics.
You know, and I remember like many times he come in the gym and like, oh, look at me, 42 years old and six pack, and always like showing off that. But I know for a fact that he never worked to get in that shape. It was just because he born like that with those genes. And regular people like you and me and Rafael, you know, that we came from this background of not being that lucky. I don't know if that's lucky. I don't see that like as something beneficial, you know, but born with those genes that you are fit wherever happens, wherever you eat, whatever you do, you're gonna always be in that shape that everybody desires to have, you know?
That's the theory of the survival of the fittest. That's why they have all that reason. Like, you looking like that, they think that people will have amazing functionality on their body. And I was gonna mention before when Michelle was talking about functional training, is that maybe you agree with me in this part, that the traditional training got into because bodybuilding. So that isolation got into because bodybuilding, and that's the image type of thing that got into the media, and that's why traditional is that way. Isolation and aesthetics and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So that's why now it's growing for functional, and instead of the looks, the feel and the mobility and everything. And I think that's a cool story that you mentioned about one of your clients, that she was moving.
Oh, yes. So one of my clients, she had this goal in mind. She actually started working out with me when she was, I think, 59. And, you know, she used to run marathons and all that, but because of some family issues, had gained some weight and hadn't really been working out. But for her 60th birthday, you know, she's like, I have some goals. I'm like, that's fantastic.
Wow, that's so cool.
Well, so after working out with us for a while, she had to move, and she was moving from one 2-story house to another 2-story house. Mind you, I said she's a 60-year-old woman, right? And she came in after the weekend, and she was so excited that she was able to do so much of the moving herself.
Wow.
Carrying boxes up and down those stairs with no stopping, no problem, because she had gotten so much more stamina and strength from our workouts.
Right.
So that just made me really happy.
Right.
Right? But yeah, that is functional training.
And this is the reality out there, right? Yeah. Most of people fit in this reality more, you know, people out of shape, they don't have any special image, they don't look like a fitness coach, you know, and sometimes we look at these magazine covers and like get excited, oh, I want to be like this person, but there is very few people that are going to be able to achieve those kind of goals, you know. The average is like this client that you have, you know, somebody that's out of shape and they start to work out a little bit and get a little bit of guidance of a specialist like you, and they improve in life and they are able just to move one house to another. And that's exactly what life is out there, you know. And people sometimes they mistaken of, oh, I want to be like an athlete. I'm gonna start to work out with Michelle, and I want to become an athlete. What do you do if somebody come to you and say, oh, Michelle, I want to be a bodybuilder, and have this like actual goal to like become a magazine cover? What do you tell for that client?
So I actually have had people come up to me and say, Michelle, can you help me get swole? which is great that that's their goal, you know, at least they want to do something. first you want to talk to them and sort of find out what their true goals are. And if they really are just after that aesthetics, I send them someplace else. Right? Because that's not what I do. That's not my specialty. And I would not want to steer them wrong.
Because you're going to have like to redirect the focus towards that person and leave the other clients behind a little bit and have to work separately.
Well, and I try to be really honest with them, right? I said, okay, if that's truly what you're looking for, it's not just about your workouts. You're also going to have to look at their nutrition. Which 90% of the time they are no longer interested. Right? Because, that's the hardest part. The nutrition's the hardest part. You can work out all day long, but if your nutrition is terrible, you're not going to get the results that you want. So
you lose 99% of the guys.
Seriously. A lot of people, and they ask me, they're like, okay, I just want to lose weight. I said, great. What are you doing now? What kind, are you exercising? Oh, I'm walking. Okay, that's good. What does your food look like? And either they don't want to tell me.
I don't know.
Or once I tell them what's sort of involved, it's hard. It's hard. Even for me, it's hard to stick with it. So I get it. I do understand. But like if someone's just coming for aesthetics, I'm like, okay, well, in order to do that, this is what you have to do. And it's very hard. And again, I would still send them to somebody whose expertise was in that. That's not something that I can focus on.
I love it. We actually do the same thing here in jiu-jitsu classes when somebody come and they want to focus in tournaments. And we recently have a case of a wrestler, a state champion wrestler that walked in and he did the first class, and immediately I had actually to spar with him a little bit just to show him that's what jiu-jitsu was about. And right after the class he said, no, I want to compete, and that's what my focus is. I say, look, we are more focused on the average person that want to learn self-defense. I can't redirect my focus towards you because you want to go to compete. So here what it is. There is a gym down the road where they're focusing tournaments, and you're gonna find yourself much more. You're gonna find exactly what you want there. So go there and try a class. And if you change your mind, come back to us, and you're gonna be very welcome. Actually, we had 2 cases like that the other day, right? One guy was actually extremely competitive. He came here and asked us like, "Hey, can you guys please train me for competitions because I'm getting beat in my other gym and I need to go back there and prove a point." And I say, man, look, I would love to help you, but I can't do that. We are focused on a totally different aspect of jiu-jitsu. We are focused on a general public, like all kinds of ages, all kinds of backgrounds, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So I can't stop what we're doing to focus on your competition goal. So I actually, he want to go to this gym right away. He said, please, can you give me the address right now? But he didn't have even a GPS with him. So I ended up leaving the gym, and I drove him right there. I said, follow me. I'm going to show where the gym is. Go there and try a class. I know that this guy's going to be able to help you better than what we can do. So we are very honest in this point. Not everybody do that, like in the other way around, there's people they're looking for what I do, but they end up going another gym. What I know for a fact that they are not focused on the general public to teach self-defense. And when he walk in the door and he say, hey, I'm looking for self-defense, great, we do that, come on, join us. And then after a month, the guy realized that he didn't learn anything about how to defend a punch, how to survive in a bad position.
Or they stay there for years without realizing because they don't know that there's something else.
Sometimes they're already there, and then they end up staying there because maybe they are trapped in a contract. And then they end up after 4 or 5 years realize that they spent all that time there and didn't learn what was the focus in the beginning, So it's I think, and yesterday we had students coming back, students they have to stop for life, kids, family.
Sure.
But they come back, they come back because we've been honest with them from day one. They walk in and say, look, my friend, you're very welcome here. That's what we do. We have this structured curriculum here. We follow exactly what it is. You're going to learn jiu-jitsu in this way. And that's what it is. And if you want something else, please, the market's huge. Go and look for somebody else that's going to help with your goal. You know, so people, they come back, you know, and the guys came yesterday back, one of our students come back and say, we are like, oh man, so good you came back. I say, of course I came back. You guys are so honest with me from day one. When I had to leave, I had no problem to cancel my contract. You guys told me 30 days notice, and that's exactly what it was. You know, because today we sign a person for a 1-year contract, we do that. But anytime he want to come out, he's free to go. We want him to go. If he have to go, maybe he's not happy here with the training. Maybe whatever happened, whatever the situation, the student is free to go. The 1-year contract that he do is not with us, it's with himself. It's a commitment with him. We want him to sign that contract so he knows that he have that 1 year ahead, that he's gonna commit with himself and do as much as he can to follow the program.
And to pivot a little bit to educate the people out there that are trying to, they're doing the traditional thing, but they don't know where to jump to or to try or to at least experience, so they can know themselves a little bit more and be aware of what is better for them. So how is the first step on how they can start? I know that you mentioned what's their goal first.
Yeah, and you know, and it's true, there's so many resources out there now, and I mean, even in our little small area, I mean, there's gyms on every corner, not to mention your personal trainers. And you know, my recommendation really is, number one, figure out what your goal is, and then just go try things. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to stick with it. Right? So, for instance, you know, people have said, oh, you should run. Running is great for burning calories and burning fat. All true. I've tried running. I do not like running. I will not run. I mean, I'll run with my daughter down the block. That's about it. You know, right, exactly. But I found that I really loved dance cardio classes, and I love that group class feeling. Right? For other people, they're not comfortable in group. They'd rather do personal training. Again, there's lots of different personal trainers out there. Lots of options. You know, things like Groupon, where you can try things for inexpensive, or ClassPass is a new one that's out there that a lot of my friends have recommended as well. It gives you a chance to try out all different kinds of gyms until you decide on one that you like. But yeah, really, I just say, just whatever sounds interesting. If goat yoga sounds interesting to you, go try goat yoga. One of my friends did that. One of my friends did that. I've seen the pictures. It looks phenomenal.
Look it up if you don't know what goat yoga is. It's super funny.
Just try things. There was one I saw the other day. It was like a bungee cardio class, and I was like, let's try it. Let's go. You know, why not?
We do the same thing. You know, we always tell people to go and try whatever they like. Actually, we have to send students that was already with us before, and we see that he want to compete, and he start to go to competitions and start to bring that mindset to the gym and start to invite other people to go and compete with him. And then we just have to cut that, you know, and say like, hey, look, if your goal is that, go and chase it, go and look for it, you know, but don't try to come here and change the system that we have, because we're not going to accept that. You know, we believe on what we do. We give this opening for everybody to try whatever they like, you know, but sometimes you have to remove the bad apple of the basket, you know, because otherwise you lose focus on what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And I did that before to try to
accommodate everybody.
Yes, and sometimes it's difficult, you know. It's nearly impossible actually for you to accommodate everybody, you know. So you have this program that you offer, and if you fit in, you're very welcome. And otherwise, you're welcome to go and try something else.
That's very much how I feel too. It was a lesson that I had to learn when I started doing group classes. In the beginning, I would think, oh, my classes would be great for anybody. Like I could train anybody, you know. And it wasn't that we weren't adaptable, but like you, we had to be honest with ourselves. We had to be honest with our clients, and say, okay, here is our program. Here are our goals. This is what we can do. And it may not be a good fit for everybody. In fact, I was always very proud of this at my previous studio. You know, pretty much everyone that was there, everyone sort of fit in our space. And every now and again, we would get somebody who was kind of an outlier that, they weren't quite in it, and they always wanted us to change our program, or they would complain about our program. In my head, I'm like, if you don't like it, why are you here?
Right.
And then eventually they would sort of filter themselves out and go find something else. But they came and they would try it for a little while, and I'm trying. I'm also a business person, and so I'm trying to see if we can accommodate them. But when it gets to the point where they're starting to affect other people in my class, then it's as you say, it's time to kind of get rid of that bad apple. In our case, a lot of times they sort of just left of their own volition, and then we were left with all the cool people. And I think that's in any environment, right? Hopefully you get a group of people together who are there for that same common purpose. And if something changes, that they can be honest with you and you can be honest with them, so that you can find some kind of mutually agreeable solution, right?
No, that's why we as a business owners, we have to make niches, so that way we have to target specific people that have our same problem that we're trying to solve. And like you said, like we're problem solvers, so we're trying to make everything right, but we can't. Like, we have to focus on our group, so that way they're great and happy. And then when we are growing more and more, then we can diversify here and there. But for now, we have to really focus, because we have limited resources. But it's cool that and that happens all the time, that somebody gets in and start complaining about the system. That happens on even social media, that you're trying to say something and help and everything, but because they don't know the context behind what's happening, or the behind the scenes, they just either leaving comments or saying that they don't like it, or like they said, but you have to change the curriculum or anything. No, there's so many options that you can go and try it out.
Try something else.
Yeah, you don't have to try and change the system here already. It's gonna be harder than just finding somewhere place to train. So it happens all the time.
I love this topic about the image doesn't mean anything. And I have seen an article recently about this vegan celebrity, Instagram celebrity, that she have millions and millions of followers and online clients, and she sells this raw vegan brand. And she was in Thailand with her friend, and her friend made a short video, and she kind of hide her plate that there's fish on it.
Really?
Yes.
I heard about that.
Yeah, she hide her plate with the arms, and then of course she have millions of followers, and people got that video and like really studied the video and see that she was eating fish.
Wow.
And then become that she was lying about what she was selling. And then she did this 30 minutes video explaining and excusing her behavior, and she said that she had some medical issues, that she had to start to eat meat because of nutrients that was missing. And if you look at her, she have exactly this image of a person, of the super fitness model, raw vegan, and selling this dream to people that actually she don't follow herself. And so it's out there, like the image. Be careful what you see when you go to a gym and you see this image there of a super fitness model, or somebody that's super muscular. That's, it's not the average, it's not the true, and it's not the healthiest thing also, like, doesn't mean like because the person he really look like super muscular doesn't mean that people is healthy,
Right.
And I can apply that to myself very clear, because I fought my way through to lose weight, and I'm not a muscular fitness model. I just feel good, I just feel good. I'm the healthiest state of my life that I could ever be with my nutrition. I'm not like a fully vegan. I'm not a fully vegetarian person. I try to never abuse of anything, but I don't tell my students, like some people think that I'm like a fully vegan, and I do that most of the time, but I don't tell people that I am that kind of stereotype, because I'm not really. If somebody invites me to go to the house and there is a non-vegan dish there, I just eat, but when I have control of my food, I try to eat as clean as possible. I'm not a nutritionist, but I have a good understanding what a healthy plate is, a healthy plate of food. You know, so there's a lot of people out there selling this image that they die for, taking all kinds of drugs and supplements to have that image. But in the end of the day, they are having a lot of joint problems and a lot of injuries, and they have a miserable life to show that image and make money out of that.
Absolutely.
You know? So realistically, image doesn't mean anything unless you want to be the new Mr. Universe. Then you have to have that image, and believe me, that kind of goal can't be healthy, you know, because the human body, it's a machine.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's not. You can't maintain that for a whole life unless you die for it. You know, you have to put your whole health in risk to keep that image, to sell a product that don't really exist. Your students, your followers, people that are gonna have you as a mentor, never gonna be able to be like you unless they get into that path. That's a short pattern, you know. Steve Maxwell, I had the opportunity to spend like this whole week with him, and he put us in a group and he say, well, if you're doing CrossFit, heavy lift weight and power lifts, stop right now because you're gonna pay a lot for that in the future, okay? And you wanna prove of that, like how much this high intensity training and jiu-jitsu competition mindset gonna interfere on your longevity of training life. Raise your hand in this group of 65 people if you are over 55 years old. That was just him. Boom. Okay, if you are over 50 years old, raise your hand. Nobody. 45, 3-4 people. 40, and then there is 10, 12. And that was exactly the proof of a short life if you go in that hard intensity, you know. How long I want to train jiu-jitsu? I want to train jiu-jitsu until I die, but there is only one way. There is only one way to do that. If you take care of your body in the right manner, you know. I know that if I was going, stay in the competition mindset and keep competing and see my students as a challenge and have that ego to prove a point every day in class, I felt that already, and that's why I had to change. It's going to be short, you know, and I believe the fitness is exactly the same thing, you know. If you keep pushing to have that image, you're going to have that image, but a very short period of time.
Right, and it's not to say that you can't do resistance training or weightlifting your whole life, and I certainly know plenty of people who do that, and it's great because some of that weightlifting is very good for your bones and your muscles, right, to maintain your muscle and to maintain to keep your bones. Right, but it's how you do it, right? To maintain that, quote, Mr. Universe level, that is not sustainable, right?
It's not.
And I've known a few competitive bodybuilders, and I haven't talked to them in length, but I've heard a little bit about their training, and it's very much like, you know, in those 2 to 3 months leading up to the competition, everything is pared down and they're super, super strict. But outside of competition, they don't do that because it's not sustainable.
Right,
it's not sustainable, right? You're doing it specifically for that particular aesthetic, and that's fine. But you're right, you know, but there's lots of different modalities. My recommendation, of course, is to find something, number one, that you love, number two, that is going to help you maintain that mobility, right? I started following a couple of different accounts on Instagram, and their whole focus is on mobility. And I consider myself a fairly flexible person, but even some of these movements were really, really challenging, and I challenged my husband to it last night, and he's looking at me like, that looks easy.
Oh, no.
It's not as easy as you would think. They're simple movements that you just don't practice in everyday life, you know? And as you know, both of us with young children, you know, you have to be able to keep up with them and crawl around and run and do all kinds. I mean, we've done planks where she's climbing on top of us. You know, I'm sure she likes to climb on you too, your daughter. So it's what they do, and it's great. And a lot of my classes, I'll actually watch some of the movements that my daughter does, and then sort of incorporate that style of movement
That's really
into
cool.
the workout,
That's awesome.
right? Because children can move all kinds of different
And they
ways.
move perfect.
Yes,
They
right?
move naturally without thinking
They
about
do.
it.
They
so
do. They squat into that perfect
Yeah.
looking squat.
right.
They crawl around with no problems. They're able, and so I was like, okay, I like that movement. Let's see how we can incorporate that into our workout.
Do it one more time.
So we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, so we can remember like do it one more time.
That's so fun. We're born with that
Absolutely.
ability, and then we lose that along the way.
Yeah,
you know?
well, children start to lose some of that ability when they start like formal school because they're sitting at a desk
Of
for
course.
most of the day. They
School.
get maybe 30 minutes of recess to run around, and then whatever the parents are able to provide outside of school.
Yeah.
But not all the kids have that opportunity. But in
With all
class,
the
they're sitting all day
homework,
long.
Yeah, with all the homework and everything. There's
exactly.
even no
Yeah,
time.
it's changing. There's
Exactly.
many countries now that's, for example, Japan and Norway, that the schools are just an open field with stations of things that kids can go and do, but they are free to run as much as they want, and they go to the station that they want to.
I believe it's
learn.
Finland that has 4
Finland.
hours of
Yes.
subjects and everything, and then go
How
explore.
Yeah.
amazing is that? You know.
4 hours a day, and then go
Yes,
explore.
how amazing is that? That's you can just have
Yeah.
your child freely to go and choose whatever they want to learn and run around the whole day. Like I think that's something really good. That's totally different than the school system that we have here in America.
I think things are starting to change some,
Yes.
but it takes time.
We hope
it
so,
takes
yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
hope so.
I try to adapt that with my kids as much as I can, to compensate those sitting hours with, stretch, foundation training at home. I actually posted a picture recently of my daughter
I saw it.
doing
In
that
India,
back
so cool.
extension, the foundation training back extension. Actually, that picture went all over already because it's something that you don't see often. At 3 years old, doing a back extension, like, is a totally movement that's gonna teach you how to use your whole body and engage your muscles. And I put her through that all the time that I can. Like play a little jiu-jitsu with her at home, bring her to the gym. But I know that not all the parents, we are very fortunate to have this time to spend with the kids.
Not everybody.
But it's
Yeah, sometimes my daughter will say, "Mommy, let's stretch together." I'm like,
Yes,
"All right,
how
let's do
beautiful is
it."
that?
Do it, yeah.
How beautiful and how much it doesn't happen there. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen too often. Parents don't have time. They don't have time to cook the food for the kids. They don't have time to
can be tough.
exercise.
Yeah.
Even a little walk in the park. Sometimes most of the parents, they cannot do that. So they drop the kid in the school in the morning. They pick up in the afternoon. Lots of electronics now that really
Yeah.
make that even
Everyone's
harder.
just doing the best that they can,
So yeah, I love the topics today. It's really nice to have Michele sharing that with us. She's a mom. She's a regular person that's try to share her passion with fitness with
She's
other
real.
people.
She's real.
Yeah, she's real. Exactly.
try.
That's what a real
Real.
fitness instructor is. That she don't have this image of a magazine cover, but she have tons of knowledge to share, tons of experience, with a family and workout, and she had her own business dealing with clients of all kinds. And I really love to have Michele here today, and
Thank you.
we are friends for a long time, and I'm looking forward for the future. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming,
Thank
Michele.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Obrigado. Yeah.
Obrigado. Say it. Obrigado. Xisha.
谢谢.
Ah,
Obrigado.
yes.
There
Thank
we
you.
go.
Thank you,
Multilingual.
guys. Have a good day. If you
Bye.
have any comments, any feedback to give to us, please write a comment, and we are here open to learn from anybody that's watching this video. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.